Hey there, welcome. Every time we write anything, an email, a report, you name it, we're really just trying to get a clear idea from our head into someone else's. And the absolute foundation of that idea? It's the sentence. Today, we're going to master the art of making sure every single sentence you write is a complete, powerful thought. So yeah, let's build a better sentence, starting right now.
All right, let's jump right in with a little test. Take a look at this. Because the weather was bad. Does that feel like a complete thought to you? I mean, we say things like this all the time when we're talking, but in writing, it's a trap. Stick with me, and we're going to break down exactly why this super common phrase might be secretly weakening your message.
So here's our game plan for today. We'll start with the absolute foundation, then we'll check out some common blueprints for building a solid sentence. After that, we're going to hunt down the most common writing flaw out there, and don't worry, I'll give you a simple 3-step fix to squash it for good. And finally, we'll get to the big takeaway. Okay, let's start with the basics. It's kind of like building a house, right? You got to have a solid foundation before you can put up the walls. Well, in writing, that foundation is knowing what actually makes a thought feel complete. So what is a sentence, really? At its heart, it's just a complete idea. And to be complete, every single sentence needs 2 non-negotiable parts. A subject, that's the who or the what, and a verb, which tells us what the subject is doing. You'll sometimes hear that verb part called the predicate, but really, it's all about the action.
Let's build one from scratch. Here's our first building block, the subject. In this case, it's just she. Simple. This tells us who the sentence is about. She's the star of the show.
And now we need the second piece, the action. Let's add smiled. This tells us what our subject, she, actually did. And when we click them together, she smiled. Boom! That's it. It might be short, but it's a 100% complete thought. We know who did what. That little check mark means we've got ourselves a successful, grammatically awesome sentence.
Okay, so we've got the basic building blocks down. Now let's look at a few different ways you can put them together. Not all sentences are built the same. Think of it like having a few common blueprints you can follow.
So sentences can be super simple, right? Like birds fly. Subject, verb, done. Or we can add a little more detail. We can add an object which tells us what the subject is acting on. She writes essays. We can also use linking verbs to describe our subject, like in the sky is blue. See how each one of these is a complete thought? They just follow a slightly different pattern. They're all solid blueprints. All right, we know what a good sentence looks like. Now let's dig into the most common problem I see, the sentence fragment. This is basically an incomplete idea trying to pass itself off as a full sentence. And honestly, it can make your writing feel really weak.
A sentence fragment is, well, it's exactly what it sounds like, a piece of a sentence. It's a group of words that might have a capital letter at the start and a period at the end, but it's missing one of those key ingredients we just talked about, either a subject, a verb, or just the ability to stand on its own as a complete thought.
So what do these fragments actually look like out in the wild? Well, the first kind is all action, but there's no actor on stage. We see something happening, but we have no clue who or what is doing it.
For example, went to the library. You read that and you immediately think, who? Who went? Without a subject, this is just an incomplete phrase, a classic fragment.
Now let's flip that around. The second type of fragment has the exact opposite problem. We have our subject, our main character, but they're just standing there. There's no action, no verb. Check this out, the teacher in the classroom. Okay, we have our subject, the teacher. But what about them? What are they doing? Are they teaching? Are they taking a nap? Without a verb, it's just a description hanging in midair. And now for the most common culprit of them all, the dependent clause. These are sneaky phrases that often start with words like because, although, since, or when. They actually have a subject and a verb, but they just can't stand on their own. For instance, although it was raining, see how that just leaves you hanging? It sets up an idea, but it never finishes the thought. Although it was raining, what happened? This is the exact same type of fragment we saw on that very first slide. Putting these side by side, man, it really makes it click, doesn't it? On the left, complete thoughts. On the right, fragments. Look at that first one. I finished my homework before dinner. That's a full story. But just before dinner? That's a fragment. It makes us ask, what happened before dinner? Same deal with the second one. The fragment, although it was raining, is all set up and no payoff. Okay, spotting fragments is half the battle, and you're getting good at it.
Now for the really important part, fixing them. Here is a simple, actionable guide to turn those broken pieces into strong, complete sentences.
Here's my 3-step fix. It's super easy. Step 1, play detective. Just scan the words and ask, do I have a subject? Do I have a verb? If one's missing, you've probably found a fragment. Step 2 is the standalone test. Read the phrase out loud. Does it sound complete, or does it leave you waiting for more? And that brings us to step 3. Fix it. You either add the missing part, or you connect the fragment to the sentence that comes right before or right after it.
All right, let's bring all this home. The goal here isn't just about passing a grammar test, it's about making sure your ideas land with real power and clarity.
So, let's load up your writer's toolbox. First, always double-check for a subject and verb. Second, treat words like because and although like glue. Make sure they're always attaching their clause to a complete sentence. Here's a pro tip: read your writing out loud. Seriously. Your ears will catch awkward fragments that your eyes might just skim over. Also, mix things up. Use short sentences, then long ones. It keeps things interesting. And finally, treat every period like a full stop sign. Make sure the thought before it feels like a complete journey, not a dead end.
So, to boil it all down into one simple table, a sentence is a complete thought, a fragment isn't, and the fix is always the same. Find what's missing and either add it in or connect that fragment to a complete sentence right next to it. It really is that straightforward.
We've covered the foundation, the flaw, and the fix. So now my question to you is this. Now that you can spot these incomplete thoughts, how are you going to make your next email, your next report, your next essay even more powerful? Go make every single sentence count.